Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, we're skipping the small talk today, all right? We are jumping straight into the deep end. We're unpacking the stark, completely unglamorous, but absolutely essential reality of modern startup culture versus, true foundational business building. Because let's be honest, if you've ever felt overwhelmed or inadequate or just totally exhausted by this relentless hustle culture flooding your feed every single day, well, you're going to want to pay really close attention to this. People don't buy cars to drive them anymore. They buy them for the unveil video. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a stunning reflection of our societal conditioning right now. We've literally turned entrepreneurship, much like buying a luxury car, into a full-blown performance. It's not about the pursuit of creating value anymore or the joy of the drive. It's entirely about making sure everyone else sees you doing it. But we gotta ask, is that really what building a business is meant to be? Part 1. The get-rich-quick myth. Okay, let's dive into this. We see this illusion literally all the time. Imagine a corporate employee, right, 10 years into their career, totally frustrated by tiny annual increments and crazy inflation. They're scrolling through their phone and mistakenly view starting a startup as this magical escape hatch to instant wealth. But here's the thing. The media only celebrates the top 0.1%. They hype up the massive funding rounds, the Forbes covers, the bloated follower counts. But those are purely vanity metrics. What they conveniently ignore are the reality metrics, things like actual profits, peace of mind, family stability, and genuine customer value. And this just creates a toxic obsession with optics over actual business substance. And that obsession, it leads directly to what our source calls the 30,000-foot delusion. Consider this story. A 21-year-old student who spent weeks meticulously crafting the absolute perfect PowerPoint presentation for a massive multi-crore Tetraplex sustainable water brand. Now, on paper, the pitch was a 10 out of 10. But out in the real world, the kid had zero capital, zero network, and absolutely zero sales skills. He was basically just sitting there, waiting for some angel investor to magically fund this 30,000-foot idea, completely ignoring the fact that he hadn't even figured out step 1. Part 2. The 4 business goals. Listen, we've got to shatter this illusion that if your business isn't some billion-dollar unicorn, it's somehow a total failure. That's just not true. Big doesn't automatically equal successful for everyone. In fact, there are 4 distinct, highly valid paths here. You might be income-driven, you just want to confidently pay the bills and support your family. Or you might be identity-driven, seeking a creative outlet. Maybe you're chasing financial freedom. Or hey, maybe you genuinely do want to build a massive legacy. Surviving, paying your bills, or simply having something that is entirely your own, that is a massive, perfectly valid victory. To really anchor that identity-driven goal, think about this incredibly powerful story from her source. A homemaker opened a small salon franchise in her town. Now, she didn't do it to build a global empire. She definitely didn't do it to become a millionaire. She simply noted that having this business changed the entire way her family, including her own children, looked at her. Earning that respect, carving out her own identity, that was her ultimate victory. No Forbes cover required, right? Now, for those chasing that third path, financial freedom, we need to clarify what that actually looks like in reality. It's about growing your business assets to a point where they generate independent returns. We're talking rental properties, steady dividends, things like that. Your business is really just a vehicle. The ultimate goal? Reaching a point where you literally no longer need the business to survive. Part 3. Capability over capital. So how do we actually get there? Well, we have to shift our entire focus. Here it is. Money makes money for investors. Capability makes money for founders. Think about it. If you inject millions in capital into a business that has a totally poor strategy, terrible systems, and a founder with low skills, that money is just going to evaporate. It won't buy success. It's just going to fast-track ruin. It's your raw underlying capability that actually multiplies capital. There's this brilliant Hinglish phrase used in the source, karat ki nahi. Basically, it translates to not out of charity. You have to earn your success. Anything handed to you, whether that's an inherited business or some massive seed round, if you haven't built the personal competence to manage it, it simply will not stay, period. If you don't build that internal capability, there is no way you can sustain the external growth. Part 4. Trap of borrowed aspirations. This brings us to a really crucial checkpoint. We need to examine where our goals are actually coming from. I mean, are your dreams even yours? So many young founders fall straight into the trap of borrowed aspirations. They're blindly copying what the internet algorithm tells them is successful. Doing it just because it looks cool online? That's a borrowed aspiration. Doing it to earn enough to secure your family's peace and happiness? Now that is a real, grounded aspiration. Chasing borrowed dreams just leads to this deep void, and it leaves founders feeling totally trapped in companies they don't even like. Get this. There's a story of a founder who had a highly successful B2B company, business to business, pulling in a massive clean profit every single year. But he wanted fame, so he pivoted to a super flashy direct-to-consumer model. And yeah, he got the magazine covers, he got the limelight, but he later confessed that the fame game completely destroyed his quality of life. The limelight is often just a swamp that forces you to compromise your core values for applause.
Part 5. Pure versus impure intentions.
We really need to look at the psychological core of the hustle here, that inner fuel driving your journey. The crucial difference lies between pure and impure intentions. If you're starting a business out of revenge, or, just to prove some doubting relative wrong at the next family gathering, or to flex your status, that is impure toxic energy. It is absolutely going to burn you out. But if you build to solve a genuine problem, to create value, or out of a deep love to protect your family, then you are building on an unshakable foundation. So I want you to pause and honestly reflect for a moment. Are your intentions pure or impure? Like, what is your actual driving force when you wake up in the morning? Are you building from a place of pure value, or are you slowly becoming a victim of consumerism and this desperate need for external validation?
Part 6. Focus on the fundamentals.
Okay, let's pivot from mindset back to the actual mechanics of business growth. Look, dreaming big is absolutely fine. We all want to grow, but you can't simply jump straight to the finish line. You must first earn the right to play big by building actual substance. You have to hit your micro milestones. You prepare for the big dream through methodical, unglamorous, step-by-step growth. And this brilliantly illustrates the point. There is an exact, highly unglamorous, chronological order required to actually build a business that scales. First, you've got to get your product quality right. Then, and only then, do you build your distribution model. Once that's set, you focus on brand and marketing, followed by locking down an ironclad sales process. Next, you build the operational systems so the business can actually run without you. And finally, you develop next-line leadership. You literally cannot skip these steps. All of these steps build toward the ultimate goal of a leader. If you're currently just obsessed with the hustle, remember this. True capability eventually requires you to transition from blind, relentless hard work to calm, strategic thinking. If you're constantly stressed out and deep in the weeds, you cannot creatively map out your next stage of growth. You literally have to earn the right to step back, be calm, and just think. So, to summarize the core message of this explainer, you have got to stop comparing your messy behind-the-scenes reality to the heavily filtered social media illusions of everyone else. Stop playing their vanity game and start playing your own fundamental game. Listen to the voice of your soul, not the constant noise of the world. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. What is the voice of your soul? Before you take another step, before you launch another project, I challenge you to log off, look inward, and figure out what you truly want. Because building a life you actually love requires clarity, not just capital. Thanks for joining this explainer, and hey, keep building on those fundamentals.